guys, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a writing update. Yeah, it is almost the end of March when I'm filming this, and I said I was going to try to do, or at least finish my rough draft for book 3 of my Christian fantasy series Creedly Chronicles this month. That's not happening. Yeah, that is so not happening. There's a bunch of reasons why that's not happening. It's not really that complicated, but yeah, basically I'm going to have to rewrite a good chunk of the book. Yeah, I'm not thrilled. But yeah, well, to back it up, I kind of got the realization. Mainly whenever I was writing in the rough draft, I would basically be kind of bored with what I was doing with the story, which is not a good sign. I just thought it was because rough drafting is hard for me, or drafting is hard for me, so I prefer editing, which I know is usually an opposite for most writers. But so I just thought maybe it was a problem with that, like I wasn't just feeling the story and stuff because I just needed to get all out there and have something to work with. But yeah, so that should have been my first warning that I basically blatantly ignored. And then, well, on the beginning of March, my whole family had this giant allergy attack. Basically, some front came in, and we all got this terrible allergy attack. So, yeah, I was not doing great for like 2 or 3 days. I couldn't talk. All I could do was sneeze. It was awful. And in that time frame, I kind of was forced to stop working on the book. So I came to the realization that I needed to restart it. Not really restart it, or just restart it at a certain point and write from a completely different angle. Because literally, I am bored with my own story. That is not a good thing. If I'm bored with my own story and I'm the author, who else is gonna like it? So yeah, there is that. I also read a blog post from a good friend of mine who is also a writer. She was talking about how the 3rd book for her series that she just recently released, how she had to basically completely go at it from a different angle, and completely like change her whole plan of it. And it was after reading that I kind of started thinking, I think I need to start changing some stuff. So yeah, I wrote down a bunch of plot kind of like ideas and stuff of what I want to keep in, what I do not really what I do not want to keep in, but more like just what I want to keep in, and just writing the story from an angle that I think sounds fun. Basically, I was going more originally towards a more political type angle. It wasn't really political, but it was more trying to get people on their side, trying to recruit them for this all-encompassing giant end battle thing that I have at the end. But it wasn't working. It was just boring. I didn't really care. Most of the stuff I did like, I had already written in the previous, I don't know, good 3rd. So yeah, I'm basically going to rewrite the whole thing. And another thing that kind of made me come up with a bunch of different ideas that I found that became really helpful and really kind of helped me figure out, okay, this is kind of exciting. I watched it's a writing video done by Abby Emmons. I'll link the video down in the description. She came up with a bunch of questions of like, if you're stuck on your book, here's a bunch of things to ask to like kind of flip the story on its head and to kind of look at it from a different angle of what could I do with it instead. But yeah, it's a great video. I'll link it in the description if you guys are interested. And yeah, so I used most of those questions she did to kind of look at things differently and kind of flip things on their head. There was also, this was just a bunch of things that were just convincing me that I needed to do something with this story that was vastly different than what I was already doing. Another thing was I follow an indie artist called Beth Crowley. I'll leave her the video I'm going to talk about down in the description, and she just did a new video because she makes music and she's a singer-songwriter. So she just released a new song, and it's called Cold Blooded, and literally when I watched it for the first time and listened to it, I realized that that song kind of encompassed something I was missing from my own villain. And it was just like, it gave me ideas of like what I could do for him, because he does kind of have a magical powers. My characters have magical powers, sort of. It doesn't really come up until like the second book, but they're more like gifts, either from Tyrana, who is God in my world. They either have those gifts, or they have, there's also like dark magic that the bad guys dabble in and stuff like that, which makes them have powers. So there's a little bit of a good versus evil magical conflict going on too. And I do know my main villain, he has magic, but I was never quite sure how it worked. He's kind of a whole enigma that I still haven't quite figured out yet, because the guy is insanely smart. I think he's technically smarter than I am, so it's a little hard to write him, because it's like this character can literally outsmart me. So I literally have to be smarter than him, even though he's literally extremely smart on his own. It's a whole thing. But yeah, so yeah, that song definitely helped me kind of hone in a little bit on him, and being just like, okay, this is the type of person he is and how he thinks and stuff. So it was just all these different pieces were floating around, and it came together basically of like, I need to change something in this book, and it needs to change drastically. So have I actually started writing in it yet? No, I have not. Yeah, there's just, it's a lot to think about. I'm still kind of thinking about things, of how to do things differently and stuff. So it is slightly on pause for now, which I don't want to do, because yeah, I've put this book on pause a lot, but I also want to make a good ending to this series, and I'm not going to do that by rushing into it. And I need to write the story I feel led to write, and that I feel is the best, that something I would want to read and be proud of that I wrote, and that other people would then be interested in reading. So, my goal for the book is to, yes, I will be continuing to write it sometime this year. There's some kind of factors in that right now that I'll get into in a minute of why I'm not doing it right now. But yeah, definitely when I do get back to it, I will take it from a scene I know I'm going to keep in. I'm basically going to take that end scene and basically start writing it to go in a different direction entirely. And then we will see how that goes. Hopefully that will be, because I think that's a great turning point to turn the story away. Unfortunately, that is cutting out a giant chunk of the stuff I just wrote. And I'm also changing a lot of the plot. A lot of the stuff I don't know if I'll be able to keep in that I originally wanted to put in. Some stuff I'm like, I'm not quite sure that I want to keep in. I'm not quite sure how to keep this in or how to realign it. So I have it up to a certain point, and I have a lot of ideas floating around, but how they all will go together is still a mystery at this point. So yeah, book 3 will not be done at the end of March for obvious reasons. My main goal now is to get the rough draft done by the end of the year. That is my giant goal for this book. So yeah, I'm sure that will happen sooner rather than later. I'm kind of also putting it on pause because I am editing book 1 again. Basically, this is my final look over of the first book before I send it to, I hope, a few more beta readers, at least one other person. Yeah, because I'm basically done with it. It is a complete book. It has been edited multiple times. It was the very first book I ever wrote, so it's been through about a gazillion edits. But this one is like what I'm calling my final cleanup type edit, which is basically I'm taking it and I'm really digging down into like removing things that really don't need to be there, cleaning it up, making it flow well. Basically I take a chapter at a time. I will go through it first, and basically I'm just, what I read, silently in my head and stuff, what I read on the screen, I will then change. If some things, like, I will cut out unnecessary things that don't really need to be there. Things that don't really edify anything to the story, don't add anything, or they're just there. And my book is huge enough. It is currently, it's like 214,000 some words. Yeah, it needs to be cut down. I'm trying to cut it down to at least 200,000. It is a huge book. So if I cut out like a good chunk of it, that's not going to bother me if I end up having to cut out a bunch. I mean, it's still going to be, you know, detailed enough and stuff, but I'm trying to really just hone it down to what really needs to be there rather than stuff that doesn't really need to be there, doesn't really add much to it. And, you know, if I start glazing over when I'm reading it, it needs to be cut down. So this is really, really hardcore stuff that I'm just digging into. I've only gone through the first 2 chapters. I've been working on it for 4 days now, and I've only gotten the first 2 chapters done. Because basically I read through it once and change things, and then I read through it again and I kind of read it out loud to myself, very low, because, you know, I'm more like muttering it because I don't want my whole family hearing me, because that's just embarrassing. But I have found it's very helpful doing it that way, because then when you read it aloud, even if you're just muttering it out loud to yourself, it shows you different ways of how, like, maybe this sentence is a little more clunky than it needs to be, or this type of word doesn't work, or whatever. And it just shows it, gets it more readable, so to speak. I got this idea from an author I follow here on YouTube. She said she did that with her books, and I decided to try it with this one. It's working really, really well. I do like the way I can do that, and I'll do that through the first time too. If I'm really stuck on a sentence, I'll try to read it out loud a little bit and see if I can fix it. Yeah, this is definitely the hardcore editing. I'm like really digging in and really trying to get rid of a lot of words, because this book is huge and it does not need to be that big. So, and there is that. That is my main project right now. I will hopefully, with the way the editing process has been going, I'm probably going to need to, like, I haven't done the math yet because I'm terrible at math, and so I can't do it off the top of my head, but I have like 58 chapters in the book, and it takes me roughly about 2 days to do each chapter. The later chapters will probably take less time because I was a better writer by the time I wrote those, so there's less cleanup to do. All the earlier chapters definitely have tons of cleanup to do. So I'm guessing like 2 to 3 days for each chapter. So I'm guessing I'm probably going to finish this book, editing it probably sometime in May. I mean, like, this is best case scenario. I can work on it every day, you know, and finish a chapter in like 2 days, you know, doing the read through one day and like the read aloud portion another day. But yeah, I'm taking it slow. I'm hoping middle of April to May, or at least by the beginning of May, I'll be done with it. I don't know if that's possible. And then when I get back to that point, I will see about starting book 3 again, or at least continuing with it. I may then also I probably won't jump into edits for book 2 just yet, but yeah, I definitely wanted to get the first book done because I'm trying to get some more beta readers, so then I just want it as polished as possible, because then that way, after you get beta readers, other people to look at it and read it and stuff, you are then like one step closer to hiring like a freelance editor to look at it, at least for my route that I'm doing with indie publishing. So it's kind of the direction I'm aiming for, so that's kind of what I'm going for. But yeah, and we'll see. And in between starting editing book 1 again and not really quitting, but just putting book 3 on pause. I also wrote just a random short story. I'm hoping to enter into a writing contest. We'll see. I haven't gone back and looked over that one yet, but I think that one's pretty much done. I just need to look over it like once or twice more, and then it's pretty much ready for whenever submissions are open, which is like next month. So I'm actually ahead of the game on that one, so that's nice. But yeah, I really like that story. It's just a really short story, but yeah, hopefully it does well if I decide to enter it. So yeah, that is pretty much my writing update. Yeah, I'm really really beating my head against a wall with this book 3, but I want it to be the best it can be. And I want it to be a story I'm proud of and want to read, like, physically. I just want to pick it up myself and read it. And just the direction it was going in, it wasn't that. So I'm actually glad I stopped before I got too much further, because literally I'm probably only going to keep maybe a third of this book of what I have, if that. And a lot of the earlier stuff I'm really going to change too, because I got, from the questions on Abby's video, I really got a lot of ideas of how to change stuff in the beginning, but since most of that is probably going to stay the same, that's why I'm not going to start writing the book again from there. I'm going to start writing from further down. Also, I haven't incorporated things from like the previous 2 books that would probably really amp up the tension and stuff in the 3rd book, which is like, so maybe I will go through the 2nd book again before I do the 3rd book. Not editing per se, but just maybe looking at it and like taking things from it and adding it to the next book. I mean, literally that's the book that's immediately, book 3 is immediately following it. Obviously it's book 2. But yeah, it's just, I need to, like, you know, take advantage of what I've already put in this world. I don't need to do extra stuff that I don't need to come up with or whatever, because I've already got it. So yeah, I just need to use better use and of what I have and stuff, and write the story I want to read, and that if I want to read it, there's going to be other people out there who want to read it too, and not be something I'm not. Because I think a lot of this book 3, I was trying to write something that I am not personally as a person. I am not personally as a reader or a writer or anything else like that. And yeah, it kind of just goes with anything in life, that if you do something that's against who you are as an individual, it's not going to work. So yeah, that's just why this book wasn't working, and I need to fix that, and I'm going to. Because, like I said several times already, I want this to be the best book possible. And since the first 2 are, to the best of my ability, of course, I mean, I am a writer and an artist. I am going to expect perfection from my works, and it's not going to happen all the time. That's just life. It gets as perfect as it gets, and then you move on from there. But yeah, I really need to be true to myself and true to how I write and true to what I love to read. And because I originally started writing this series for me, and that's kind of just what I go with. If I like writing it and reading it myself, I'm sure there are other people out there who would too. So yeah, that's just kind of my update. Yeah, not really much else to say on that. Yeah, I'm not finishing the 3rd book by the end of March, but you know, that's okay, because I can focus on book 1 for right now, and also I'm going to make book 3 better by doing it this way and be a book that I am proud of. So yeah, that is my current writing update. Yeah, not much else to say. So let me know down below in the comments if you guys are writers, anything you want to talk about in this scenario. I mean, there's not really much to say. If you want to comment. Fuzz. Sorry. Anyways, yeah. You can like and subscribe and comment down below if you feel like doing any of those things or none of them. Feel free either way. And thanks so much for watching, you guys. And hopefully I will have better updates regarding book 3 next time. Or at least when I start working on it again. So yeah. Yeah, thanks so much for watching, you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!